My name is Ed Rutledge, and I am the Libertarian candidate for Lieutenant Governor of Illinois. I considered using this time to simply explain that Libertarians believe that you have the right to live your life however you want so long as you are not hurting anyone else, and that we believe that politicians should be careful with your money. But then I thought I should use this time to describe the proposal that Lex Green, my running mate, and I put together that balances the state budget without raising taxes and without additional long-term borrowing, neither of which our state can afford. How our plan puts beat cops ahead of bureaucrats and teachers in the classroom ahead of administrators in office buildings. And how only Lex and I are the only candidates in this race to have a budget proposal for the next fiscal year, and that we've put our proposal on our websites for everyone to see. Still, there's something even more pressing, and that's 5%. Just 5% of the vote in this election. You're probably asking yourself, what kind of politician would campaign for just 5% of the vote, and why? Well, first, I'm not a career politician. But more importantly, you should understand just how hard it is to get on the ballot in this state. Illinois has some of the most difficult ballot access laws in the country. The system is rigged to keep the conversation limited to the two parties of the status quo. Getting just 5% of the vote gets the Libertarians full party status, and it gets them a seat at the table. But what does this do for you? Consider first the quality of the candidates that the major parties are putting forward. Honestly, were you planning on voting for a candidate that you like, or were you planning on voting for the candidate that you dislike the least? That's just not a good alternative. Getting the Libertarians a seat at the table means that you will be able to vote for candidates that you like and believe in rather than against those you don't. With just 5% of the vote, you get a real choice beyond the status quo. The major parties no longer represent the average citizen, which is why they've run our state into the ground. By getting the Libertarians a seat at the table, you will be getting a voice advocating for responsibility and accountability in government, a voice demanding that government leave you free to live your own life without their interference, a voice that moves the conversation on your behalf. With just 5% of the vote, you get a voice, and your voice will be heard. The major parties often leave races uncontested. By getting a seat at the table, the Libertarians will be able to run candidates for local office. What's the point in voting when there's only one candidate on the ballot? With just 5% of the vote, you get options going forward. The major parties have consistently shown us that their campaign promises of reform are as empty as their suits. By getting Libertarians a seat at the table, you will get a spotlight directed at elected officials, keeping them true to their promises even during the quiet periods between elections. With just 5% of the vote, you get a watchdog. 5% of the vote is an achievable goal, and 5% of the vote is a goal worth achieving. 5% of the vote gives you choice. It gives you options. It gives you a voice. So let your voice be heard, now and going forward. We can reach this goal with your help. My name is Ed Rutledge, and I'm the Libertarian candidate for Lieutenant Governor of Illinois. I once heard that if you're not at the table, then you're on the menu. I'm asking for your help in getting us a seat at the table. And who knows, if enough of you vote for the 5%, we might just win this thing. So please, remember, on Election Day, 5% for the Libertarians, 5% for Lex Green and Ed Rutledge, 5% so that your voice is heard.